speaking about the structure of the org. So OpenAI went stopped being nonprofit or split up in between. Can you describe that whole process?
Yeah. So we started as a nonprofit. We learned early on that we were going to need far more capital than we were able to raise as a nonprofit. Our nonprofit is still fully in charge. There is a subsidiary capped profit so that our investors and employees can earn a certain fixed return. And then beyond that, everything else flows to the nonprofit. And the nonprofit is like in voting control, lets us make a bunch of non-standard decisions, can cancel equity, can do a whole bunch of other things, can let us merge with another org, protects us from making decisions that are not in any like shareholders' interest. So I think it's a structure that has been important to a lot of the decisions we've made.
What went into that decision process for taking a leap from nonprofit to capped for-profit? What are the pros and cons of deciding at the time?
It was really like to do what we needed to go do. We had tried and failed enough to raise the money as a nonprofit. We didn't see a path forward there. So we needed some of the benefits of capitalism, but not too much. I remember at the time someone said, well, it's a nonprofit, not enough will happen. Is a for-profit, too much will happen. So we need this sort of string.
But you kind of had this offhand comment. You worry about the uncapped. AGI, out of all the technologies we have in our hands, the cap is 100x.
It starts much, much lower for like
AGI.
For sure.
So how do you how do you compete? Like, stepping outside of OpenAI, how do you look at a world where Google is playing, where Apple is and Meta?
We can't control what other people are going to do. We can try to like build something and talk about it and influence others and provide value and good systems for the world. But they're going to do what they're going to do. Now, I think right now there's like extremely fast and not super deliberate motion inside of some of these companies. But already I think people are, as they see the rate of progress, already people are grappling with what's at stake here. And I think the better angels are going to win out.
The better angels of individuals
and companies. But, the incentives of capitalism to create and capture unlimited value, I'm a little afraid of. But again, no, I think no one wants to destroy the world. No one wakes up saying, like, today I want to destroy the world. So we've got the Moloch problem. On the other hand, we've got people who are very aware of that, and I think a lot of healthy conversation about how can we collaborate to minimize some of these very scary downsides.
Well, nobody wants to destroy the world. Let me ask you a tough question. So, you are very likely to be one of the person that creates AGI.
One of. And even then, like, we're on a team of many. There'll be many teams.
But
several teams.
Small number of people, nevertheless, relative.
I do think it's strange that it's going to be a few tens of thousands of people in the world. Thousands of people in the world.
But there will be a room with a few folks who are like, holy shit.
That happens more often than you would think now.
I understand this.
But yeah, there will be more such rooms.
Which is a beautiful place to be in the world. Clarifying what the most people. So that might make you and a handful of folks the most powerful humans on Earth. Do you worry that power might corrupt you?
For sure. Look, I think you want decisions about this technology and certainly decisions about who is running this technology to become increasingly democratic over time. We haven't figured out quite how to do this, but part of the reason for deploying like this is to get the world to have time to adapt and to reflect and to think about this, to pass regulation for institutions to come to norms for the people working on together. Like, that is a huge part of why we deploy, even though many of the AI safety we referenced earlier think it's really bad. Even they acknowledge that this is like how this happens. But I think any version of one person is in control of this is really bad.
You're trying to distribute power.
I don't have, and I don't want like any like super weapon power or any special like you know, I have no like control of the board or anything like that.
But AGI, if created, has a lot of power.
How do you think we're doing? Like, honest, how do you think we're doing so far? Like, how do you think our decisions are? Like, do you think we're making things net better, worse? What can we do better?
Well, the things I really like, because I know a lot of folks at OpenAI, the things I really like is the transparency, everything you're saying, which is like failing publicly, writing papers, releasing different kinds of information about the safety concerns involved, and doing it out in the open is great. Because especially in contrast to some other companies that are not doing that, they're being more closed. That said, you could be more open.
Do you think we should open source GPT-4?
My personal opinion, because I know people at OpenAI, is no.
What is knowing people at OpenAI?
Yeah, because I know they're good people. I know a lot of people who know they're good people. From the perspective of people that don't know the PhD, is concerned with super powerful technology.
It's close in some sense, but we give more access to it than, like, if this had just been Google's game, I feel it's very unlikely that anyone would API out their PR risk with it. I get personal feedback because of it all the time. I think most companies wouldn't have done this. So maybe we didn't go as open as people wanted, but like, we distributed it pretty broadly.
Me personally, I think OpenAI's culture is not so like nervous about PR risk. You're more nervous about the risk of the actual technology, and you reveal that. So, the nervousness that people have is because it's such early days of technology that you would close off the conscious because it's more powerful. My nervousness is you get attacked so much by fear-mongering clickbait journalists. You're like, why the hell am I dealing with this?
I think the clickbait journalist is obviously more interesting.
No, I'm third-person father. Like,
I appreciate that. I feel all right about it. Of all the things I mostly focus on.
because it's important. There's a handful of companies, a handful of folks that are really pushing this forward. They're amazing folks that don't want to become critical about the rest of the world.
I think people at OpenAI feel the weight of responsibility for what we're doing. And yeah, it would be nice if, like, journalists were nicer to us and Twitter trolls get more benefit of the doubt. But, like, I think we have a lot of resolve in what we're doing and why and the importance of it. But I really would love, and I ask this like of a lot of people, not just of cameras rolling, like any feedback you've got for how we can be doing better. We're in uncharted waters here. Talking to smart people is how we figure out what to do better.
How do you take feedback? Do you take feedback from Twitter also? Because the waterfall.
My Twitter is unreadable. So sometimes I do. I can like take a sample, a cup out of the waterfall. But I mostly take it from conversations like this.
Speaking of feedback, somebody you know well, you work together closely on some of the ideas behind OpenAI is Elon Musk. We have agreed on a lot of things. We disagreed on some things. What have been some interesting things you've agreed? Speaking of other people.
I think we agree on the magnitude of the downside of AGI and the need to get not only safety right, but get to a world where people are much better off because AGI exists than if AGI had never been built.
What do you disagree with?
Elon is obviously attacking us some on Twitter right now on a few different vectors, and I have empathy because I believe he is, understandably so, really stressed about AGI safety. I'm sure there are some other motivations going on too, but that's definitely one of them. I saw this video of Elon a long time ago talking about SpaceX, maybe some and a lot of early pioneers in space were really passionate. definitely grew up with Elon as a hero of mine. You know, despite him being a jerk on Twitter or whatever, I'm happy he exists in the world. But I wish he would do more to look at the hard work we're doing to get this stuff right.
A little bit more love. What do you admire in the name of love about Elon Musk?
I mean, so much, right? Like, he has driven the world forward in important ways. I think we could get to electric vehicles much faster than we would have if he didn't exist. I think we'll get to space much faster than we would have if he didn't exist. And as a sort of like citizen of the world, I think very much of that. Also, like, being a jerk on Twitter aside, he's like a very funny guy.
And some of the jerk on Twitter thing, as a fan of humanity laid out the complexity of beauty, I enjoy the tension right here expressed. So, I earlier said that I admire how transparent you are, but I like how the battles are happening before our eyes. There's energy closing off, it's that boardroom, all the
Yeah, you know, maybe I should hit back and maybe calm down a little, but it's not like what I know.
It's all fascinating to watch. Both of you are brilliant people and have early on for a long time really cared about AGI and have great concerns about AGI for the great growth rate. And that's cool to see. These big minds having those discussions, even if they're tense at times. I think it was Elon that said that GPT is too woke. Is GPT too woke? Can you see whether the case that it is or not? This is going to question about bias.
Honestly, I barely know what woke means anymore. I did for a while, and I feel like the word is more, so I will say I think it was biased. And will always be. There will be no one person. What I think, like, again, even some of our first critics have gone off and tweeted about 3.5 million pairs. Wow, we probably a lot better. Not that they don't have more work to do, but I appreciate critics just being intellectual honesty like that. And there's been more of that than I thought. We will try to get the default version to be as neutral as possible, but as neutral as possible is not that neutral. It's not to do it against and so this is where more servability, more service system decisions we do is, I think, and as you pointed out, even more.
Is there something to be said about the employees of the company affecting the bias?
100%. We try to avoid the going on like around the world user tours soon for a month. I just go like talk to users in different cities, and I can like feel how much it's already doing that because I haven't done anything like that since years. And to go talk to people in super different contexts, and it doesn't work over the internet. Like to go show up in person and like sit down and like go to the bars they go to and they're not like walking the city like they do. You learn so much and get out of the bubble so much. I think we are much better than any other company I know of in San Francisco for not falling into the kind of like mess of craziness.
But it's impossible to separate the bias of the model versus the bias of the employees.
The bias I'm most noticed about is the bias of the craziness.
What's the selection? There's something you can speak to at a high level about the selection of the creator.
This is the part that we understand the great
me, that's a shallow heuristic because like any one kind of category of human that you would think would have certain feelings might actually be really open-minded in an interesting way. So you have to like optimize for how good you are actually at doing these kinds of grading tasks. How good you are at empathizing with an experience for other humans. That's a big one. And being able to actually like, what is the world view look like for all kinds of groups of people that would answer this differently? I mean, I have to do that constantly. So like,
you've asked this a few times, but it's something I often do. I ask people in an interview or whatever to steel man the beliefs of someone they really disagree with. And the inability of a lot of people to even pretend like they're willing to do that is remarkable.
Yeah. What I find, unfortunately, ever since COVID, even more so, that there's almost an emotional barrier. It's not even an intellectual barrier. Before they even get to the intellectual, there's an emotional barrier that says no. Anyone who might possibly believe X, idiot, evil, level, anything you want to assign, it's like they're not even like loading in the data.
Look, I think we'll find out that we can use GPT this month way less biased.
So hopefully without
there won't be one.
But there might be
well, there might be but I meant the technology I think is capable of being.
You anticipate you worry about outside society.
I don't worry about it like to the point where it's level. We want
well, there's a, that's what something revealed that there was pressure in organizations. See in the pandemic where the CDC or some other organization that put pressure on, what, we're not really sure what's true, but it's very unsafe to have conversations now. There's a sense of all so you get a lot of the emails, emails from all different kinds of people reaching out at different places, with subtle, indirect pressure, direct pressure, financial, political pressure, like that. If you, what do you worry about that? If you intelligence and the source of information and knowledge.
I think there's like a lot of like quirks about me that make me not a great CEO for OpenAI, but a thing in the positive column is I think I am relatively good at not being affected by pressure for the sake of pressure.
By the way, beautiful statement of humility, but I have to ask, what's the negative comment?
I mean,
too long a list?
No, not that. I think I'm not a great spokesperson for AI. I think there could be like a more like, there could be someone who enjoyed it more, there could be someone who's like much more charismatic, there could be someone who like connects better, I think, with people than I do.
I'm with Chomsky on this. I think charisma is a dangerous thing. I think flaws in communication style, I think, is a feature, not a bug. At least for humans. At least for humans in power.
I think I have like more serious problems than that one. I think I'm like pretty disconnected from like the reality of life for most people, and trying to really not just like empathize with, but internalize what the impact on people that AGI is going to have. I probably like feel that less than other people.
But you said like you're gonna travel across the world to
I'm excited
to empathize with the community.
Not empathize, just like I want to just like buy our users, our developers, our users a drink and say like, tell us what you'd like to change. And I think one of the things we're not good at as a company as I would like is to be a really user-centric company. And I feel like by the time it gets filtered to me, it's like totally meaningless. So I really just want to go talk to one of our users.
Like you said, a drink in person, because I I haven't actually found the right word for it, but I was a little afraid with programming
Yeah,
emotionally. I don't think it makes any sense.
there is a real difference.
GPT makes me nervous about the future, not in an AI safety way, but like change, change, and like there's a nervousness about change. And
More nervous than excited.
if I take away the fact that I'm an AI person and just a programmer,
Yeah.
more excited, but still nervous. Like, yeah, nervous in brief moments, especially when sleep deprived. But there's a nervousness there.
People who say they're not nervous, it's hard for me to believe.
But you're right, it's exciting. Nervous about change. Nervous whenever there's significant, exciting kind of change. I recently started using, I've been an Emacs person for a very long time. I switched to VS Code as that was one of the big reasons. It's like, this is where a lot of activity, of course you could probably do Copilot inside Emacs.
VS Code is also pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot of like little things and big things that are just really good about the SSIs. And I can happily report all the people. I'm very happy. It was a very happy decision. But there was a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of nervousness, a lot of fear, and so on about taking that leap, and that's obviously a fine. But even just the leap to actively using Copilot and using generation of code. It makes you nervous, but ultimately my life is much better as a programmer. Purely as a programmer of little things and big things. There's a nervousness, and I think a lot of people will experience that, and you will experience that by talking to them. And I don't know what you would do with that. How we comfort people in instances.
And you're getting nervous the more you use it, less.
Yes, I would have to say yes, because I get better.
Like the learning curve.
And then there's moments when you're like, oh, it generates a function beautifully. You sit back, both proud like a parent, but almost like proud, like, and scared that this thing will be much smarter than me. Like both pride and sadness, almost like a melancholy feeling, but ultimately joy. What kind of job do you think you could be language models?
Like the whole thing end to end, or not like maybe
Those are both good questions. I would say they're equivalent to me, because if I'm 10 times more productive than that, I mean that there would be a need for fewer programmers in the world.
I think the most of the mindset that if you
it is true that there could be a lot of really important challenges.
it is. I think like the big I guess I would say customer service is a category that I could
basic questions about when do I take this pill, if it's a drug company, or when what's that? But like, how do I use this product? Questions.
Yeah,
like, how do I use
whatever call center.
Yeah, this is not work yet.
I want to be clear. I think like these systems will make a lot of jobs just go away. Every technological revolution does. They will enhance many jobs and make them much better, much more fun, much higher paid. And they'll create new jobs that are difficult for us to imagine even if we're trying to solve them. But I heard someone last week talking about GPT-4 saying that, man, the dignity of work is just such a huge deal. You've really got to worry. Like, even people who think they don't like their jobs, they really need them. It's really important to them and to society. And also, how often it is that France is trying to raise the retirement age. And I think we as a society are confused about whether we want to less. It's certainly about whether most people like the job. think that's great. I'm not nervous about it at all.
You have been a proponent of UBI, Universal Basic Income. In the context of AI, can you describe your philosophy there on human future of UBI? Why you like it? What is its limitations?
I think it is a component of something we should pursue. It is not a full solution. I think people work for lots of reasons besides money. And I think we are going to find incredible new jobs in society as a whole. People's individuals are going to get much richer. But as a cushion through a dramatic transition, and as just like, I think the world should eliminate poverty if people do so. And I think it has great things to do. I think a small part of the solution. I helped start a project called which is a technological solution to this. We also have funded a large, I think maybe the largest, most comprehensive universal basic income study sponsored by OpenAI. And I think it's like an area we should just be looking into.
What are some insights?
We're going to finish off at the end of this year, and we will talk about it hopefully very early next.
If you can linger on it, how do you think the economic and political systems will change as AI becomes part of society? It's such an interesting philosophical question. Looking 10, 20, 50 years from now, what does the economy look like? What does politics look like? Do you see significant transformations in terms of the way democracy works?
I love that you asked them together because I think they're super related. The economic transformation will drive my working model for the last 5 years has been that the two dominant changes will be that the cost of intelligence and the cost of energy are going over the next couple of decades to dramatically fall where they are today. And the impact of that, you're already seeing the way you now have programming ability beyond what you had as an individual before, is society gets much richer, much healthier in ways that are probably harder to imagine. I think every time that's happened before, it's been that economic impact has had positive political impact as well. And I think it does go the other way too, like the socio-political values of the Enlightenment enabled long-running technological revolution and the scientific discovery process we've had for the past centuries. But I think we're just going to see more. The shape will change. I think it's this long.
Do you think there will be more, the term is, but systems that resemble something like democratic socialism? I talked to a few folks on the podcast.
I hope so.
So that it reallocates some resources in a way that supports kind of lifts the people.
I am a big believer in something
If I can test your historical knowledge.
probably not going to be good, but let's try it.
Why do you think, I come from the Soviet Union, why do you think communism is so successful?
I recoil at the idea of living in a communist system. And I don't know how much of that is just biases because I didn't grow up in what I would call probably more than I realize. But I think more individualism, more free will, more ability to self-determine. And also, I think the ability to try new things and not need permission and not need some sort of central planning, betting on human ingenuity and sort of distributed process, I believe is always going to be and I think that for all of this applause in America, I think it's the greatest country in the world because of the way it is.
So it's really interesting. that centralized planning failed so in some big ways. But what if, hypothetically, the centralized planning...
It was a perfect, super intelligent AGI.
Super intelligent AGI. Again, it might go wrong in the same kind of ways, but it might not. We don't really know.
We don't. It might be better. I expect it would be better. But would it be better? 100 super intelligent, 1,000 super intelligent AGIs, sort of. Now, also, how much of that can happen in
There is something called tension, competition.
But you don't know that about that.
It'd be nice, whether it's engineered in or revealed to be happening. It'd be nice for it to be happening. There's something also about Steel Russell talks about control property. Always having the reality have some degree of uncertainty. Not having a dogmatic certainty.
That feels important.
Some of that is already handled with human alignment, like human feedback, reinforcement learning, human feedback. It feels like they're just engineered in hard humility, romantic. You think that's possible to do?
There's definitely some of those words, but I think the details really matter, but it's, I understand that.
What about the also?
That like big red button in the data center we don't talk about.
Yeah. Use that one.
Yeah. My backpack.
Yeah, your backpack. You think that's possible? Like, actually more seriously, rolling out different systems. You think it's possible to unroll them, pull them back in?
Yeah, I mean, we can absolutely take models off the internet. We can like take which is an API out.
Is that something you worry about? Like, you should use it. You realize, holy crap, they're using it. I don't know where.
We do try to figure out as much red team as we do. How to avoid a lot of those, but I can't emphasize enough how much the collective intelligence and creativity of the world will be building out and all of the red teams there. So, put it out. Put it out there, we can make changes.
In the millions of people that use ChatGPT and GPT, what have you learned about human civilization? I mean, the question I ask is, are we mostly good? Or is there a lot of
Well, to be clear, I don't, nor does anyone else have any access that they're like reading all the chat, which we see messages. But from what I hear people using it for, at least the people I talk to, and from what I see on Twitter, we are definitely mostly good. But A, not all of us are all the time, and B, we really want to push on the edge. And, you know, we really
very not that activism is effective source like this type of dark side. Like it's great processes. It feels like dark humor is part of that. Some of the tough things you go through, stuff like my war cells. People I've interacted with, they're war, they're usually just and then dark humor.
Yep.
There's something there. To the model. How do you decide? How do you decide? You have one hand. There's a lot of them. How do you feel?
The origin of COVID is not a good and then there's stuff that's like certainly young, but
about everything and then give down all I know and understand about the world, so that even that question is terrifying. There's a bucket of things that have a high degree of confidence, particularly math, a lot of math.
Good enough for like
Yeah, and some competitive physics, there's historical facts, maybe dates when the war started. There's a lot of details about military conflicts inside history. Of course, you start to get, just read Blitzed.
Oh, I want to read that. How was that?
It was really good. It gives a theory of Nazi Germany and Hitler that so much can be described about Hitler and a lot of the upper echelon of Nazi Germany through the excessive use of drugs. And then amphetamines, but also other stuff. But it's just, and that's really interesting. It's really compelling. For some reason, like, that would explain a lot. Somehow really sticky. The idea that sticky. You read a lot of criticism of that later life story. That's actually a lot of cherry picking. This actually is just the fact that that's a very sticky explanation. There's something about humans that likes a very simple narrative to drive everything.
And then too much amphetamine causes the war is like a great, even if not true, simple explanation. This feels satisfying and excuses a lot of other much darker.
Yeah, the military strategy employed, the atrocities, the speeches, just the way Hitler was as a human being, the way Hitler was as a leader, all that can be explained in this one little lens. And it's like, well, if you say that's true, that's a really compelling truth. So maybe truth is, in one sense, defined as the thing that is collective intelligence. We kind of all our brains are sticky. Like, yeah. A bunch of ants together, like, yeah, this is it. But, yeah, it's hard to know what is true. And I think when constructing a GPT model, you have to contend with that.
I think a lot of the answers, like if you ask GPT-4, I don't know, just to stick on the same topic, did COVID leak from the lab?
Yeah.
I expect you would get a reasonable answer.
There's a really good answer, yeah. It laid out the hypotheses. The interesting thing it said, which is refreshing to hear, is there's something like there's very little evidence for either hypothesis, direct evidence, which is important to state. A lot of people the reason why there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of debate is because there's not a strong physical evidence needed.
Heavy circumstantial evidence on either.
And then the other is more like biological, theoretical discussion. And I think the nuanced answer that you can provide is actually pretty damn good. And also, importantly, saying that there is uncertainty. Just the fact that there is uncertainty is a statement.
Man, remember when the social media platforms were banning people for saying things loudly?
Yeah. That's really humbling. It's humbling, the overreach of power, censorship. But the more powerful you become, the more impressionable it becomes.
We have a different set of challenges faced by the previous generation of minds, which is people talk about free speech issues with GPT, but it's not quite the same thing. It's not like this is a computer program that it's allowed to say, and it's also not about the mass spread and the challenges that I think have made the Twitter and Facebook and others have struggled with so much. So we will have very significant challenges, but they'll be very new and very different.
And maybe, very new, very different. There could be truths that are powerful and they're truths. Group difference is an IQ. There you go. Scientific work that was spoken might do no harm. And you ask GPT that, should GPT tell you? There's books written on this that are rigorous scientifically, but are very uncomfortable and probably not productive in any sense. But maybe are. These people are arguing all kinds of sides of this, and a lot of them have hate in their heart. So what do you do with that? If there's a large number of people who hate others, but are actually citing scientific studies, what do you do with how do you avoid GPT being hacked? There's a lot of those are like or other methods like damn.
You know, when I was like a kid, basically, once on Jeopardy, and I found it for the first time. And I got to see I will say it's very strange to be on the other side of it.
You know, man.
Kind of sucks.
Is some of it ranking fun? How much of it is security threat? How much do you have to take it seriously? How is it possible to solve this problem? Or does it rank instead of I'll just keep asking questions about things.
We want users to have a lot of control and get the model to behave in the way they want within some very broad bounds. And I think the whole reason for jailbreaking is right now we can't figure out how to like get rid of people don't really jailbreak iPhones that much anymore.
Just like there's a lot of hilarious. So I know Morikawa, cool guy, he's an open AI. He did something that he also was really kind to send communicate with us in one email describing the history of OpenAI, all the different developments. He really lays it out. I mean, that's a much longer conversation of all the awesome stuff we have. Amazing. His tweet was, Dolly, July 22, ChatGPT, November 22, API 66% cheaper, August 22, embeddings 500 times cheaper, while the APR is ChatGPT API also 10% cheaper, while the APR 3 whisper API 4 today, whatever that was, 5. What's the process? And then we can send that back. Deployment of actual products in the hands of people. What is the process of going from idea to deployment that allows you to be so successful in shipping AI-based products?
I mean, there's a question of should we be really proud of that or should other companies really impress? And we believe in a very high bar with people teaching. We work hard, which, you know, you're not supposed to say anymore or something. We give a huge amount of trust, autonomy, and authority to individual people. And we try to push within a very good standard. And, you know, there's a process which we can talk about, but it won't be that illuminating. I think it's those other things that make us able to ship dialogues.
The GPT-4 is a pretty complex system. You said there's like really little hacks you can do to keep improving it. There's cleaning up the data set, all that. All those are like separate teams. You give autonomy, autonomy to these fascinating different problems.
If like most people in the company want to be excited to work with this hard, collaborate well, and or developers just as more important, there'd be very little I or anybody else could do to make it happen. But we spend a lot of time figuring out what to do, getting on the same page about why we're doing something, and then how to divide it up and all coordinate together.
So then you have a passion for the passion.
Yeah. Sure.
How do you hire? How do you hire people? The folks I've interacted with are nice.
It takes a lot of time. Like I spend, I mean, I think a lot of people claim to spend a third of their time hiring. I
multi-year, multi-billion-dollar reported to be $10 billion investment into OpenAI. Can you describe the thinking that went into this? What are the pros, what are the cons of working with a company like Microsoft?
It's not all perfect or easy, but on the whole, they have been an amazing partner to us. Satya and Kevin are super aligned with us, super flexible, have gone like way above and beyond Call of Duty to do things that we have needed to get all this to work. This is like a big, iron, complicated engineering project, and they are a big and complex company. And I think like many great partnerships or relationships, we've sort of just continued to ramp up our investment in each other, and it's been very good.
It's a for-profit company. It's very driven. It's very large scale. Is there pressure to kind of make a lot of money?
I think most other companies wouldn't. Maybe now they would. It wouldn't at the time have understood why we needed all the weird control provisions we have and why we need all the kind of like AGI specialness. And I know that because I talked to some of the companies before we did the first developer stuff. And I think they're unique in terms of the companies at that scale that understood why we needed the control provisions we have.
And so those control provisions help make sure that the capitalist imperative does not affect the development of AI. Well, let me just ask you, as an aside, about Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft. He seemed to have successfully transformed Microsoft into this fresh, innovative, developer-friendly company.
I agree.
It's really hard to do for a very large company. What have you learned from him? Why do you think he was able to do this kind of thing? What insights do you have about why this one human being is able to contribute to the pivot of a large company to something very new?
I think most CEOs are either great leaders or great managers. And from what I have observed with Satya, he is both. Super visionary, really gets people excited, really makes long duration and correct calls. And also, he is just a super effective hands-on executive and I assume manager too. And I think that's pretty rare.
I mean, Microsoft, I'm guessing, like IBM, like a lot of companies have been at it for a while, probably have like old school kind of momentum. So you inject AI into it, it's very tough. Right? Or anything, even like open source, the culture of open source. How hard is it to walk into a room and be like, the way we've been doing things are totally wrong? Like, I'm sure there's a lot of firing involved or a little twisting of arms or something. So do you have to rule by fear, by love? What can you say to the leadership aspect of this?
I mean, he's just done an unbelievable job, but he is amazing at being clear and firm and getting people to want to come along, but also compassionate and patient with his people too.
Getting a lot of love, not fear.
I'm a big Satya fan.
So am I, from a distance. I mean, you have so much in your life trajectory that I can ask you about. We could probably talk for many more hours. But I got to ask you, because of Y Combinator, because of startups and so on, the recent, you've tweeted about this, about the Silicon Valley Bank, SVB. What's your best understanding of what happened? What is interesting to understand about what happened at SVB?
I think they just horribly mismanaged buying while chasing returns in a very silly world of 0% interest rates. Buying very long-dated instruments secured by very short-term and variable deposits. And this was obviously dumb. I think totally the fault of the management team, although I'm not sure what the regulators were thinking either. And is an example of where I think you see the dangers of incentive misalignment. Because as the Fed kept raising, I assume that the incentives on people working at SVB to not sell at a loss their, super safe bonds, which were now down 20% or whatever, or, down less than that, then kept going down. That's like a classic example of incentive misalignment. Now, I suspect they're not the only thing in that position. The response of the federal government took much longer than it should have, but by Sunday afternoon, I'm glad they've done what they've done. We'll see what happens next.
So how do you avoid depositors on top of it?
What I think would be good to do right now is just, this requires statutory change, but maybe a full guarantee of deposits, maybe a much, much higher than 250K. But you really don't want depositors having to doubt the security of their deposits. And this thing that a lot of people on Twitter were saying is like, well, it's their fault. They should have been reading the balance sheet and the risk audit of the bank. Like, do we really want people to have to do that? I would argue no.
What impact has it had on startups?
Well, there was a weekend of terror for sure. And now I think, even though it was only 10 days ago, it feels like forever and people forgot about it.
But it kind of reveals the fragility of our economics.
We may not be done. That may have been like the gun shot falling off my San Garcia movie or whatever.
It could be like other things.
For sure, it could be.
Well, even with FTX, I'm just, that's fraud, but there's mismanagement. And you wonder how stable our economic system is. Especially with the new entrants, AGI.
I think one of the many lessons to take away from the S&P thing is how fast and how much the world changes and how little I think our experts, leaders, business leaders, regulators, whatever, understand it. So the speed with which the SVB bank run happened, because of Twitter, because of mobile banking apps, whatever, is so different than the 2008 collapse, where we didn't have those things really. And I don't think the people in power realize how much the field has shifted. And I think that is a very tiny preview of the shifts that AGR will bring.
What gives you hope in that shift from an economic perspective? Because it sounds scary, the instability.
I am nervous about the speed with which this changes and the speed with which our institutions can adapt. Which is part of why we want to start deploying these systems really early, why they really make so that people have as much time as possible to do this. I think it's really scary to have nothing, and then drop a super powerful AGI all at once in the world. I don't think people should want that to happen. But what gives me hope is I think the less zeros, the more positive stuff the world gets, the better. And the upside of the vision here, just how much better life can be. I think that's gonna unite a lot of us, and even if it doesn't, it's just gonna make it all feel more positive somehow.
When you create an AGI system, you'd be one of the few people in the world that get to interact with it first, assuming GPT-4 is not that. What question would you ask her and it? What discussion would you have?
One of the things that I have realized, this is a little aside and not that important, but I have never felt any pronoun other than it towards any of our systems. But most other people say him or her or something like that. And I wonder why I am so different. I don't know. Maybe it's I watch it develop. Maybe it's I think more about it. But curious where that difference comes from.
I think probably you could admit because you watch it develop. But then again, I watch a lot of stuff develop, and I always go to I anthropomorphize aggressively. And certainly, most humans do.
I think it's really important that we try to explain and educate people that this is a tool, not a creature.
Yes, but I also think there will be a room in society for creatures, and we should draw hard lines between those.
If something's a creature, I'm happy for people to like think of it and talk about it as a creature, but I think it is dangerous to project creatureness onto a tool.
Much more perspective. Perspective I would take, if it's done transparently, is projecting creatureness onto a tool makes that tool more usable if it's done well.
Yeah, so if there's like kind of UI affordances that work, I understand that. I still think we want to be like pretty careful with it.
Because the more creature-like it is, the more it can manipulate you emotionally.
Or just the more you think that it's doing something or should be able to do something or rely on it for something that it's not capable of.
What if it is capable? What about Sam Altman? What if it's capable of love? Do you think there will be romantic relationships like in the movie Her with GPT?
There are companies now that offer, for lack of a better word, like romantic companionship AIs.
Replica is an example of such a company.
Yeah. I personally don't feel any interest in that.
So you're focusing on creating intelligent
But I understand
tools.
why other people do.
That's interesting. I have, for some reason, I'm very drawn to that.
Have you spent a lot of time interacting with Replica or anything similar?
Replica, but also just building stuff myself. Like I have robot dogs now that I use. I use the movement of the robots to communicate emotion. I've been exploring how to do that.
Look, there are going to be very interactive GPT-4 powered pets or whatever, robots, companions, and a lot of people seem really excited about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting possibilities. I think you discover them, I think, as you go along. That's the whole point. Like the things you say in this conversation, you might in a year say, this was right.
No, I may
wrong.
totally want. I may turn out that I like love my GPT-4
Maybe you
dog,
want your
robot, or whatever.
Maybe you want your programming assistant to be a little kinder and not mock you.
I think
your incompetence.
No, I think you do want the style of the way GPT-4 talks to you really matters. You probably want something different than I want, but we both probably want something different than the current GPT-4. And that will be really important, even for a very tool-like.
Is there styles of conversation, contents of conversations you're looking forward to with an AGI, like GPT 5, 6, 7? Is there stuff where, like, where do you go to outside of the fun meme stuff for actual?
I mean, what I'm excited for is like, please explain to me how all the physics works and solve all of my mysteries.
Theory about everything.
I'll be real happy.
That's like.
Don't want to know.
So there's several things to know that can be hard. Is it possible and how to do it? Yeah, probably the first question. But I don't think AGI has the ability to do that, to know that.
Might be able to help us figure out how to go detect. And we need to like send some emails to humans and say, can you run these experiments? Can you build this space probe? Can you wait, a very long time?
Or provide a much better estimate than the Drake equation.
Yeah.
With the knowledge we already have. And maybe process all the... Because we've been collecting a lot of...
Yeah,
data.
maybe it's in the data. Maybe we need to build better detectors, which a really advanced AI can tell us how to do. It may not be able to answer it on its own, but it may be able to tell us what to go build to collect more data.
What if it says that
I think I'm just going with it. A version of that is like, what are you doing differently now that, like, if GPT-4 told you and you believed it, okay, AGI is here, or AGI is coming real soon, what are you going to do?
the source of joy and happiness and fulfillment in life is from other humans. So it's mostly nothing.
Right.
Unless it causes some kind of threat. But that threat would have to be like literally a fire.
Like, are we living now with a greater degree of digital intelligence than you would have expected 3 years ago in the world? And if you could go back and be told by an oracle 3 years ago, which is blink of an eye, that in March of 2023 you will be living with this degree of digital intelligence, would you expect your life to be more different than it is right now?
Probably, but there's also a lot of different trajectories intermixed. I would have expected the society's response to a pandemic to be much better, much clearer, less divided. I was very confused about there's a lot of stuff, given the amazing technological advancements that are happening, the weird social divisions. It's almost like the more technological advancement there is, the more we're going to be having fun with social division. Or maybe the technological advancement just reveal the division that was already there. But all of that just confuses my understanding of how far along we are as a human civilization and what brings us meaning and how we discover truth together and knowledge and wisdom. So I don't know. But when I open Wikipedia, I'm happy that humans were able to create this thing.
For sure.
Yes, there's bias, yes, but
it's a triumph.
It's a triumph of human civilization.
100%.
Google search, period, is incredible. What it was able to do, 20 years ago. And now this new thing, GPT, it's like, is this like going to be the next, like, the conglomeration of all of that made web search and Wikipedia so magical, but now more directly accessible? You can have a conversation with the damn thing. It's incredible. Let me ask you for advice for young people in high school, college, what to do with their life. How to have a career they can be proud of, how to have a life they can be proud of. You wrote a blog post a few years ago titled How to Be Successful. And there's a bunch of really people should check out that blog post. It's so succinct, it's so brilliant. You have a bunch of bullet points. Compound yourself, have almost too much self-belief, learn to think independently, get good at sales and quotes, make it easy to take risks, focus, work hard, as we talked about, be bold, be willful, be hard to compete with, build a network. You get rich by owning things, be internally driven. What stands out to you from that beyond is advice you can give?
Yeah, no, I think it is like good advice in some sense, but I also think it's way too tempting to take advice from other people. And the stuff that worked for me, which I tried to write down there, probably doesn't work that well, or may not work as well for other people. Or, like, other people may find out that they wanted to just have a super different life trajectory. And I think I mostly got what I wanted by ignoring advice. And I think, like, I tell people not to listen to too much advice. Listening to advice from other people should be approached with great caution.
How would you describe how you've approached life? Outside of this advice that you would advise to other people. So really just in the quiet of your mind to think, what gives me happiness? What is the right thing to do here? How can I have the most impact?
I wish it were that, introspective all the time. It's a lot of just like, what will bring me joy, what will bring me fulfillment, what will be. I do think a lot about what I can do that will be useful, but like, who do I want to spend my time with? What do I want to spend my time doing?
Like a fish in water, just going around with a current.
Yeah, that's certainly what it feels like. I mean, I think that's what most people would say if they were really honest about it.
Yeah, if they really think, yeah. And some of that then gets to the Sam Harris discussion of free will being an illusion, which it very well might be, which is a really complicated thing to wrap your head around. What do you think is the meaning of this whole thing? That's a question you could ask an AGI. What's the meaning of life? As far as you look at it, you're part of a small group of people that are creating something truly special. Something that almost feels like humanity was always moving towards.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is I don't think it's a small group of people. I think this is like the product of the culmination of whatever you want to call it, an amazing amount of human effort If you think about everything that had to come together for this to happen, when those people discovered the transistor in the 40s, like, is this what they were planning on? All of the work, the hundreds of thousands, millions of people, whatever it's been, that it took to go from that one first transistor to packing the numbers we do into a chip and figuring out how to wire them all up together, and everything else that goes into this, the energy required, the science, like just every step, like this is the output of like all of us, and I think that's pretty cool.
And before the transistor, there was 100 billion people who lived and died, had sex, fell in love, ate a lot of good food, murdered each other sometimes, rarely, but mostly just good to each other, struggled to survive. And before that, there was bacteria and eukaryotes and all that.
And all of that was on this one exponential curve.
Yeah, how many others are there? We'll ask, that is question number one for me, for AGI. How many others? And I'm not sure which answer I want to hear. Sam, you're an incredible person. It's an honor to talk to you. Thank you for the work you're doing. Like I said, I've talked to Elias Issker, I've talked to Greg, I've talked to so many people at OpenAI. They're really good people. They're doing really interesting work.
We are going to try our hardest to get to a good place here. I think the challenges are tough. I understand that not everyone agrees with our approach of iterative deployment and also iterative discovery, but it's what we believe in. I think we're making
Alright, it's yeah, we're gonna hit up the sentinels, and we found a fucking amazing ruin, and I don't care how, but we're gonna get in. Like they're finished, even they are very leveled and have amazing gear probably, but we really don't care, because you're going into that castle, and if I can, I would like to live in this actually. This looks like the best fortified position ever. Like